Yes, sir, buddy. What's up, y'all? We got another great show today for the Tuesday Talk. Hey, it's your boy Uncle Luke. This is the best place for us to sit down, have candid conversations on a Tuesday with the community and with influential people from the community. We allowed people to come on here and have a great conversation last week. We had who did we have on? We had Christina King on here last week. She talked about Virginia Key Beach and more, and that was a very, very good conversation. And this week, ladies and gentlemen, this week we got the group Icare back once again. It's my favorite group. Love them guys. You know, they work hard for the kids in Miami-Dade County. You know, and I know it's a lot of people around the country be listening to this broadcast, and I know it'd be inspiring you to do more because of the things that you see people do here in Miami-Dade County. It inspires you to do some things in your community, and all the time, I always get DMs of how can I do certain things in my community similar to what you guys do in your community. And so that's what these conversations be about, people. It'd be about inspiring, talking about the issues that concern the community, because in all actuality, it's the same issues that concerns everybody else from around the country. We have the same issues. Whether you go to Harlem, whether you go to Detroit, whether you go to Cleveland, which has a sorry football team. If you go to Cleveland, if you go to Dallas, Houston, or whatever you may go at, it's the same issues. It's the same issues. You know, it's the same thing that's going on all over the country. And so we have these conversations on Tuesday, and I invite good folks to come on. You know, I love the fact that people like to come on and talk about the issues that concern the community, which is a great thing. And like I always say, this platform is for everybody to feel free to be on here and be a part of it. This conversation tonight, people, is going to be about Miami-Dade County Schools, state of Florida. It's going to be a whole. We got a wide range of things to jump into with Icare. These guys have been working on behalf of the kids of this community and the parents for shit. I don't know, maybe 20 years or more. I might be limiting it, but they have always been there from day one. 20, 30 years. They've always been there from day one to make sure the kids of this community and people of this community get the best from out of Miami-Dade County schools, as well as, local and state government. So that's what it's all about. Before I start it off, I just like to know where everybody from. So get on here and let me know where you're from. Yep. My brother just reminded me of the shout outs. All right, this is the time for y'all to let us know where y'all from. So go ahead and go up in there, and I'm going to go ahead and put you in there. So where are you from? Uh-oh, there we go. We got Georgia in the building. Georgia's in the building. Hey, here we go. Who else we got up in here? Oh, man, we got Orlando in the building. Some of these things we talk about tonight is going to affect Orlando. We got Kendall in the building. West Kendall. I didn't even know it was such a thing. We got Georgia in the building. What? Oh, man, we got Alabama in the building. Oh, man, this thing going to be good tonight. We got people from all over the place. Hey, there it is. We got, who else? 305 in the building. Yup. Savannah in the building. I see you, Savannah. Who is this? What? We got somebody from Baltimore, Maryland in the building. Oh man, this thing gonna be good. This Jackson, Georgia. I think that's where one of the guys trying to move, Larry Williams. We're gonna find out tonight about him, what he trying to move. Hey, there it is. So let's start this thing off. Let me get the guys on in here. Hey, I would like to welcome the great DC Clark. Oh, DC Clark.
Hey, what's happening,
Larry
Luke?
Williams.
What's up, man?
Hey,
What's up, brother?
how y'all brothers doing, man?
Hey, man, I took offense when you talking about my Cleveland Browns, man.
You took offense to that? I mean, hey, before we start, the good part about it, look at that. We got New York in here. We got Albany, New York. Hey, we got all these people up in here. We got Atlanta in here. Hey, listen, man, let me say this, Larry. The good part about it, you did get some national pub. I know you was looking at the game. and they showed the Northwestern playoff game when they mentioned Amari Cooper. And so you got national pub. You should be happy. Y'all got a beat down, but the Bulls still ended up prevailing on a national broadcast. And now you don't have nothing to say.
Well, I mean, was it not expected? That's what we do. We national.
Hey, that's gonna be the last thing we get into the game, but we ain't even gonna go there yet. Hey man, once again, I'd like to welcome you guys on the broadcast tonight. It's a beautiful thing that you all can come on and talk about these issues. And I just want to, before we start, I want to congratulate Mr. D.C. Clark on a great run for county commissioner. I mean, that was hey, look. I know how it was, my brother. And you went up in there, you did your thing. People did not expect you to achieve the goals that you expected. They expected you to have, they said, DC need to have all this money to be able to run in a race. No, DC just need to be DC. I was telling people, DC don't need no money. Shit, DC already. When you're on the ground floor, you doing things in the community. You don't need to be buying advertisement talking about who you are. They already know what you represent. So, my brother, I want to congratulate you, and you did pick the winner. You support the winner.
Well, we appreciate
it. I know who you had with that when you run a race.
He's the kingmaker.
Laughing. When you run a race, and at some point, and you don't win the race, you have to endorse.
Right.
And endorsing is not popular with everybody.
That's right.
So I'm sitting in the back. I'm in the back with my popcorn. Say, yeah. I say, yeah. I'm sitting back there watching the whole movie. Yeah, you got to jump on the wagon, DC. And this over here, fucking DC this, DC that. Oh, we love DC. God damn it. Boy, the Rockets keep winning.
Brother, listen, I greatly appreciate you, bro. We love you too. You've been with us most of those 20 years. You know what the struggle is firsthand. And we appreciate everything you do for us as well. And I try to stay a little humble. We were fortunate enough to finish third in the race, and we were fortunate enough to pick the winner against all odds. A lot of preachers and politicians on that other side. But I'll leave it at that. We think that the best candidate won, the best candidate available. I thought I was the best candidate, and I'll stand by that. But hopefully we can keep her feet, keep the fire under her feet, and make sure she do right by everybody in the district. So thanks again, brother. Thanks for your support.
Hey, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the great Larry Williams on here, Icare. What's your title, Larry? You the president of Icare?
I'm actually, they gave me the assassin's job. They made me chairman of the board of Icare as well as chairman of the board of Miami Northwestern Alumni Association. So they get me shot twice a week every time I come.
Hey, Larry, but listen, man, that's the thing. See, it's I always learned this, especially with politics. You can be the king or you can be the king maker. And if you're the king maker, which DC king maker, you don't have to be the king. You don't get shot at.
Right.
So
that's my friend though.
I think DC put a fasten on you and the lady.
I agree.
He made you the king of Icare, so you get shot at, and he made the commissioner the queen, the king, so she can get shot at, so he can be back in the back pulling the strings.
He's a very strategic guy.
Hey, don't stop telling our secrets, Luke.
Oh God! Hey man! Hey again, man! I thank you guys on here. We on Facebook Live, we on YouTube Live, and we on Twitter Live, and all the people. Hey, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that's on here, we're gonna give y'all the opportunity to do a Q&A at the end of the conversation. So I see your comments in here. I put the comments up every now and then. But at the same time, hey, look, let's get into it. Before we get into it, you know, uh, I was thinking, right? And this is one thing. I want to segue into a question for you guys. I remember, and a lot of people in the community, our age, remember DC Clark having a bookstore. And
Right.
you get all your African American books,
Right.
right? And so I started thinking when the Kanye West and the Kyrie Irving uh, debate went on and the things that went on with that, and I just started thinking, man, these type of books, we were able, as young people, able to go to DC and his family bookstore and get this black information. And see, that's why a
Right.
lot of you guys don't understand that this guy DC more and Larry is real knowledgeable about our rich history as African Americans because they read books. And this one guy had the bookstore.
Right.
So we would go there, and so I think about it, and I'm like, these guys are in the books.
Right.
What happened to us as people? What happened to the teaching of our kids? Because people are like, oh shit, somebody read a book. And is this in the book? And is this not in the book? Is this a documentary? And I thought about it, and our schools don't have any more libraries because we're so busy teaching the test. And
Right.
then Carlos Jimenez, when he was the mayor, he closed down majority of the libraries in the community, and we
Mm-hmm.
know Barnes and Nobles, they ain't getting ready to put no bookstore in the neighborhood like you had a bookstore back in the days. Where do our kids get the information?
Well, ironically, they put they gave us TikToks and Facebooks and Instagrams to replace that. But all is not lost because there's a lot of information, particularly after this Kanye West Kyrie Irving situation, talking about the very same things that I had in the bookstore. One of my most popular books, Luke, was "We the Black Jews."
Really?
We the Black Jews. That was one of my most popular books. They came before Columbus. We talked about the ethnicity of the original Jews and things of that nature. And so this is not a new subject, but what it does bring to light is people's control over us. You have a governor right now who's running, and one of his planks is he's going to take CRT or anything black out of the teachings of our curriculum. That's one of his major planks. We can't talk about slavery and the causes of slavery and who enslaved us. We can't talk about it because they are mad when we bring up the truth. And then when you start talking about the origins of Hebrew Israelites and the origins of the original Jews, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram is full of that information right now. I post it almost every day looking at that. So even though there's a lot of hip shaking, rump shaking, boongie shaking, there is a lot of pertinent information that we can use on those very same forums. And trust me, they can't hide the information for that long. As a matter of fact, on my site, it has become conversational. I don't believe that a man could be free if he's told what to say, when to say it. We too have the First Amendment right. And yes, I know Kyrie Irving and Kanye West works for others, primarily Jews and various fields in the music industry and in the sports industry. And they're very careful not to let people hear the truth. Why? Because they want to continue control over us as a people. Well, it's time for us to finally, unleash those shackles that's not on our wrists, but on our minds. And I believe that the conversations that are being had worldwide right now is the first step of finally getting us to head where we need to go.
So Larry, let me ask you, Larry, do you know, and ladies and gentlemen in the audience, you know, Larry and DC, these are the guys who I care, and they care about the kids of the community, and they do a lot of work within, you know, within the Miami-Dade County area, and you know, there's Broward County and every other municipality in the state of Florida on some of the things that they're doing. Let me ask you, Larry. So do we make a push? Do we change the curriculum or get the curriculum to teach more Black history in our schools, or do we go and say, oh, we need to add libraries, which I think that'll be very difficult. So how do we address this, that our kids are not getting this information and they're so, you know, they're blown away by just the conversation about Black Jews and the things that Kanye West and Kyrie is talking about?
First of all, let me just say that there's a discipline called etymology. And when you research and do study of etymology, the letter J is less than 500 years old. So given that mathematical formula, there couldn't have been the term Jew written in the Bible and be accurate because the J didn't even exist. So there's a discipline called etymology that should be implemented into the school system, so you know where the origin of the alphabet and words comes from, because words really matter. Some of the stuff is just going to have to be self-taught, Luke. We can't sit around and wait for the system to educate us, because they have colonized us. And just like DC is saying, you got a governor, the same term they used in the Roman Empire today, that controls all the Jews. So you're going to have to pick yourself up and do some research on your own. Whether they want to fund that, that's a fight within itself. But you're going to have to take some responsibility and become self-taught. And that's kind of what happened to me. I can't speak for DC, but I realized as a young man growing up in the educational system at the Dade County school system, something wasn't right. My spirit didn't feel good about the things that I was being taught. So I continued to research and study and realize and pull the onion back and say, wow, look what we have here. The truth has no friends. And what DC is saying is true. What I'm speaking is true. And the only reason that we're still at the bottom of the totem pole is because we want to continue to empower a system that was not designed for us. And I'm just real. If you go into Bouvier's Law Dictionary and look at the definition of a United States citizen, we are not allowed to be a United States citizen based on the law. So I think it's paramount that we have to realize we're going to have to do some self-teaching ourselves, take the basics, what they're teaching us, and take it to another level. Because if I'm your enemy, I'm not going to help you overcome me. That just ain't going to happen. So they'll still restrict what books are being put in the school system. Like DC said, another great book is From Babylon to Timbuktu.
Timbuktu,
have that book in your library.
Right.
And stop using Kindle, buy hard copies of the book, because if they shut down the internet, you still got the book. I don't buy Kindle. I buy hard copy books. DC would see me every week if he was still up and running. So I think that's probably the most efficient way to do what we got to do, because the enemy is not going to feed us information to free ourselves. They see us as a commodity. We have to understand that we're a commodity in their eyes. And as long as we continue to make them money, they'll tolerate certain stuff on us. So I think that self-taught is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, it's amazing, because I mean, you know, a lot of people on here that are listening to this conversation, and a lot of other people, they don't know you guys like I know you guys, and you guys are well abreast of the history of African Americans as well as the history of this town here. And so I look at it, and I look at where we at today, as a people, and now all of this information. Even, you know, some people may not agree with the entertainers or the rappers and anything, but they brought this conversation to the forefront where when you talk to young people, they're really not knowledgeable of it, you know, of because of these things not being taught either in school or either at home. And I agree with you because again, you know, when I was a young guy, you know, it wasn't a situation of waiting for me to get the information. You know, I know in school they're gonna teach you about Martin Luther King and they're gonna have the Black History Month, and that's all you're gonna get out of that. So, you know, my uncle and my dad would teach me, you know, to read these books about H. Rap Brown and Malcolm X and all these different things, and you know, and how to read the news, read into the news as well as the you know, the news and how they portray us as African Americans. And so, you know, a lot of people don't get that. A lot of these kids don't get that. And you're right. You know, a lot of people, a lot of these young folks are consumed by Facebook, not Facebook, but TikTok and all these different things, and that's where a lot of our problems come from. But let me ask you guys. Uh, you know, because I want to get into sports, politics, and entertainment in here. So if you know if so, we would urge these kids' parents. We know we're talking about a lot of blighted communities. We got to urge these kids and their parents to go and get the information. How do we urge young people uh, through using the school system to help educate these young people when a lot of their parents ain't educated on these issues?
Well, Luke, let me say this. I believe that this is a very pivotal time in our history. I think what these two gentlemen have done is what a lot of people wanted to do but were afraid to do. And that's poke the bear, poke that wasp nest. And they finally did it. And now this conversation has spilled over into all forums. So I think this is a golden opportunity for the parents to sit down with their kids and ask them what they think, tell the kids what they know, and more importantly, remember now the phone, the iPhone, whatever type of phone you have is nothing more than a computer. You have in your hands a source of researching the information instantly. So use it for things other than rap music and porn. Use it to research those things in this conversation because it's very prevalent throughout. And so as you know, I have a mentoring program of young men between the ages of 7 and 17 years old. That is one of the main topics within my mentoring program. And I ask each of them to bring me what they know on the subject matter. You understand me? Because everybody's talking about it. And I want my young men to be well versed in this particular subject matter. Of course, we're going to give them some guidance on what to say, what not to say, and how to say it. But they have to know, because why is this man being ridiculed for posting a video that he made no comment on? That means our First Amendment rights is just null and void. And yes, I do understand the worker versus the owner concept. Even though everybody has the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the owner has the right to discipline you if you said something that's untoward toward him or what he believes in. I get that. But now they're saying that he has to be diligent 24/7, 365, even when he's off work. And so I don't necessarily agree with that. I was involved in a situation about an American flag and the fire department, approximately 20 years ago, 21 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I understand the heat that you can get from the employer or from the system if you say or perceive to have done something wrong. So I understand what they're going through. But I caution people just to research the situation in its entirety before you make dumb statements like Shaq, Charles Barkley, even the guy that I like the most, LeBron James. Just asinine statements, not backing up the brothers at all. Basically, you remember what your mom used to say, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Mm-hmm. Don't disparage your brother in the process. Just say, hey, I have no comment, or, I support the brother. I think he apologized, and I think he's done enough. So I believe he should be back at work, and leave it at that. But I think it's a golden time to have that conversation amongst each other. And I think we will all grow because of it.
Yeah, I think so too. Let me, Larry. Let me ask you. So, I know you guys, the Icare group deals with a lot of issues that concern Miami-Dade County schools. What are some of the issues right now that you guys are dealing with when it comes to Miami-Dade County schools right now?
Well, let me just piggyback on DC before I go into that topic matter. I think everybody should go out and buy the book. from
They're gonna ban, you're gonna get banned, Larry.
Negroes. Hebrews the Negroes. That's the name of the book.
Larry, you're gonna get banned. You know they hung black people for giving people, telling other black people to read
it was a felony. I understand all that. Cut the TV off as a family. Sit down and read a couple of pages a night and discuss it. Verify what's in the book. Because what you've been trained to believe is from a European perspective. What we call education is a European perspective, pretty much put together by a guy named, Horace Mann. He put the template together for the education system that we use today. So in that template, it was never designed for us to be a part of it in a positive manner. So all these degrees we got, doctoral degrees and master's degrees, I got family members with them, bachelor's degree. You have a degree in European education. Therefore, you don't know about yourself. Cut off the tell lie vision. Tell lies through vision. We spend more time watching television than any ethnic group in this country. If television made you smart, we'd be the smartest people in this country. So it's not working. Cut the tell lie vision off.
True,
get
brother.
the book, read the book, become knowledgeable. You'll feel a burden off you when you realize how free you really are when you know your history. You can walk around with your head up. You ain't got to be abba dabba dibbing and dancing when ain't no music. So up. Martin Luther King said you can't ride a man back if he ain't been over. So stand strong, know who you are, know you the original man. Dr. Leakey said that years and years ago. It ain't no secret. They know too. Just stand up and claim your ancestry and be who you are. Stop being colored. Stop being black. Stop being African American and learn your history. Know your nationality. And that book is paramount to helping you down the road with that information.
What's the name of the book again?
From Hebrews to Negroes. See, they never talked about the book. So let's talk about the book, the brother who wrote the book. That's who we need to be patronizing. Forget how people feel. Read the book on your own and come up with your own synopsis. Don't let somebody analyze it for you based on what you hear on snippets on TV. Get the book. It's less than $30 for the book. And read the book. Have a family night. Cut the TV off and sit down and read 3 or 4 pages. If you're good, read a chapter and then talk about it. You can educate each other together. I mean, I constantly have debates with my family because, that's who I am. I kind of like to stir the pot a little bit, but that brings growth.
No crap.
That brings growth.
Hey, let me tell you. See, that this is I think this is probably the most perfect timing with the perfect 2 gentlemen from Miami-Dade County. You guys to talk about this issue because I'm like y'all. I'm like, yo, this, there. This is the perfect time to be having this conversation when we wouldn't be having. Even though people may say Kanye West is crazy, Kyrie Irving, he exposed some things, and I know both of them brothers real good, and but it's the perfect time for it to be at the forefront of the family dinner and the table to be okay. All right, so what's in the book? And you know how we do. We go to what's in the book, what's in the documentary. Why is the documentary on Amazon?
Right.
And why are they not going after Bezos? Bezos is
Right.
a huge guy. So
Right.
to have this conversation within the African American community, and then at the same time, just like all of us, well, these guys are sellouts. Why are they piling on so we're distinguishing who on the TV that look like us is a sellout and who's not, and watch them backslide and our heroes. And I think this is probably one of the most beautiful moments
Right.
that you could ever imagine in the world, because a lot of people now are going to read these books and look at these documentaries and learn more about their history. If we just preach all day, they're going to
Yes,
get the
sir.
information.
Free your mind and your ass will follow.
And your ass will follow. And if you get a moment, go get some last poets, because I had to listen to that. Well, start off the weekend. You cannot look at no cartoons. And you're right. I go to Uncle Ricky's house. You can't look at no cartoons in here on the weekend, boss. We're going to sit up here and read these books. Hey, and more of that, wake more people up. But again, the question, let me ask you guys. So what is Miami-Dade County Schools doing good, and what should they be doing better?
Well, we've been fighting for licensing and branding for a while, as you know. You've been to press conferences with us, meetings with us, so you know where we stand on that. For those who don't know, our schools, inner city schools, by the way, Icare means Inner City Alumni for Responsible Education. Those schools, which house some of the best athletes around the country, have been pimped for years. Everybody is allowed to use our likenesses and image without giving us a dime. You go to all of these sports magazines and sports groups like Max Prep, USA Today, they have Northwestern and Central Paraphernalia without giving the school one thin dime. Well, finally, one of our brothers, Daryl Hosendahl, just signed a deal, a licensing and branding deal, that will control all of that, all of those images. And it will send out a game of the week or several games of the week from Miami-Dade College, in which each school, participating school, particularly those inner city schools, will finally get a piece of the pie, including Miami Edison. So if you're playing and that is broadcast all around the country, and all of the Red Raiders all around the country pay that $9.99 to watch Luke coach's Edison Red Raiders, then Luke and his team will get a cut of that. And so that's long overdue. And I'm sure Brother Hosendorf will do right by our inner city schools. So that's a plus for us. We're looking for that rollout. And for those individuals who have been streaming those games on a smaller scale, they could still buy in with maybe a local license of a weekly license and maybe a yearly license and still do their thing. So we're looking forward to that. That's a plus for us. But we have to be diligent and fight against this Ron DeSantis, no African-American history, no CRT BS that he's trying to pull over our eyes. That's a continued fight that I know that Larry and the rest of us should be up to the task. We cannot allow him to dictate to us that we cannot teach our history and heritage in our public schools, especially when Bovo, that you're familiar with, Luke, just signed a rule stating that they're going to teach communist history and Cuba's fight against communist history in our public schools. Come on, man. Ain't no way in hell we should fall for that.
Really?
So
did that get voted on and passed?
Well, yes, I think it was an article last week talking about the same thing. So we can't allow one thing to happen while discrediting our history, heritage, and culture. That's a continued fight, and we will fight to the end on that issue there.
I think, Luke, one of the most important things in Dade County history right now may take place tomorrow. If my memory and my intel is correct, I think they'll be choosing a new chair of the board for the school system. As you well aware, Dr. Steve Gallen III is the current vice chair. I think that he would be a great candidate to take over from the former chair, which would give it some new ideas and concepts. The school system is antiquated in a lot of ways. So let's go back to the licensing and branding piece. As you well aware, we probably sell, as an institution, Miami Northwestern, more paraphernalia than anybody in Dade County. However, under the first check that we got from the first contract of licensing and branding, which we asked, almost demanded that the school system terminate that contract immediately. We got, for a 3-year period of time, we got something like $780 for 3 years under Kapaho. So nobody knew where the money was. Nobody knew how much paraphernalia was being sold, the whole 9 yards. So again, piggybacking on what DC's saying, Darryl will be implementing programs where we'll know what accountability is, and we'll get our fair share of the money. Why is that important? Because we need to feed children before a game. We need to feed children after a game. Currently, you know, if it wasn't for booster clubs and alumni association and people just doing in-kind services, that would not happen. You're a coach. You know what it's like to send a young man out there and play 48 minutes of football on an empty stomach. How do you expect that child to perform at a level of excellence when his stomach is hungry? So these are the things that need to happen, and these are the things that the licensing and branding brings to the table. It puts us back in control of something we created. And I know I've offended a lot of people about the bull, but we have that copyright. We're one of 5 schools in Dade County to have a federal license, which means at the federal level we're protected, and all the other schools in the county are protected at a state level. So we know that bull means something to some people, and they try to take advantage of it. And the school doesn't get nearly as much as they're entitled to get. So hopefully under the leadership of Mr. Hosendorf, that will change. And if not, he gets in front of the fine squad too. So it is what it is. I mean, if you there and you take that contract, you're going to take that smoke if it ain't. So, friend, it doesn't have no guarantees that we'll be friends with this contract over with. So he got to do the right thing, because I know where he live at. If I got the hot defense, I'm coming.
I'm sure he will, brother.
So I know a lot of people looking at this right now, and they're trying to understand, because you know how it is. Most people don't understand change. They don't understand a lot of the nuances of these deals and the things that you guys are trying to get for the system. So in the end, you have a lot of people that become upset, because they can't embrace change. So let me ask you, with this new apparel deal, it's for the entire Miami-Dade County school system, not just for the schools that you guys represent, right?
Correct.
For the entire school system, yes.
Right.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
the entire school system. Now, when you get these playoffs, you're getting ready to play Miami Northwestern and Miami Central, big game, national. Everybody around the world want to know what's going on. That type of game, that type of game with this type of new deal or with this deal, will a game like that be televised, like you, on a pay-per-view basis,
Exactly. Exactly.
and would there be paraphernalia? Would there be broadcasters? How would that take place? And will that take place for this particular game?
No, it won't take place for this game. I think the contract will go, if I'm not mistaken, into effect next season or probably at the beginning of the year. But imagine all of the people that went to Northwestern that's living all across the country, all of the people that went to Central living across the country, and you getting $10 from each of those, and they're having parties in their house, watch parties in their house. Imagine how many parties in Georgia alone you would have for Central versus Northwestern. Not to mention people in the Army and armed forces, not to people not to mention people living across the country. We're talking a potential hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars coming not only to the affected schools, but to the district at large. So it's a win-win for everybody. See, right now you have the best talent at the poorest schools. I just posted a picture of Northwestern track the other day. That track is the home of Miss Carmen Jackson, one of the most prolific girls track coaches in the country, with nearly 20 state championships under her belt. And I wouldn't allow my preschool kid to run on that track because they were bound to be injured and hurt. So we need money to repair this track. We need money to go into the coffers of the Alumni Association, go into the coffer of the school or the principal discretionary funds, go into the coffer of the district so that it can do other things for other schools. So it's not just about us. It's for the entire school system. And once again, I think it's a win-win for everybody involved. But we need to stop others from making money from those national outlets to the bootlegger out on the street corner, because they're not giving back to these systems. Now they're not giving back to these affected schools. And that's why we are amongst the poorest schools in the nation, more talent than anybody can shake a stick at, but amongst the poorest individuals in schools in the nation, the entire nation. And that has to stop.
So, Larry, let me ask you. Let me ask you. I guess it's a two-part question. How did the money get divvied up, and is it fair that uh, one? I guess it's two-part. Will every game? Let's move to next year. Will every game be televised through this new system? Every Day County school game be televised through this new system, or will it be special games? And why should why should let me just rephrase that. How does the money get divvied up to go back to the particular school? Because I just think it would be unfair if Miami Central and Miami Northwestern just generated this this Floyd Mayweather type pay per view money, and then now this money is being brought into Miami-Dade County school system, and majority of that money don't go to those particular schools, those two schools, but it is divvied up amongst all of the 300 and some schools who, and then Northwestern and Central get a small percentage. How does that work?
Okay, so based on what I know at this moment, a couple of things. First of all, let's go back. I think when a study was done maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the study said that if Miami-Dade County Public Schools put in place a licensing and branding. See, this is one of the reasons that is hit hard times, because you had the angry black men that took this proposal to Dade County schools. The school board voted on it and said, okay, we're going to do this. Now, the minimum that we were told based off the study was $7 million. That was the bare minimum that the district would make. The way I understand it to be, if it's Edison Plan, Norland as example, those schools get a percentage of that television revenue. So each school will have an opportunity to generate its own revenue from TV as well as paraphernalia under licensing and branding. So your productivity, your brand will help you usher in the amount of money that you're going to get. So it's not like all the money goes to Northwestern or Central. No, your school will be based on the productivity of your fan base, your alumni base. They go out and buy Edison product. That money goes to Edison, that percentage. So the percentages is cut equitably. But now that's going to be based on how your alumni base and your student base get involved in supporting your school. So that's going to be part of the formula that they use. Now, I'm going to break some because as I came in this evening before I spoke to you guys or before we got on the show tonight, I have gotten a commitment from some of the highest level of the school district that they will meet with us and allow the community to get involved with the structure of how some of this stuff is going, because they can continue to stay up in the 9th floor and come up with these ideas, and the boots on the ground and understand what's going on. You don't talk to them. So sometime in December, I don't know when it's going to be yet, just had this negotiation as we came on earlier, that we will meet in December to discuss some of the concerns. We're planning an antiquated stadium. Travis Powell was created, I think, in 1963. Here you are, the 3rd largest school district in America, the 3rd largest. And a game of this magnitude, potentially between Northwestern and Central, when DC and I were in school, that's a minimum of 40,000 seat, 35 to 40,000 capacity game that's going to come out. So over the last 30 years, because of the iniquities of the district and not really paying homage to athletics as well as activities, because our children use those platforms as a conduit to go to college. As an example, not talking about just about Carmen, Miami Northwestern Band just got another superior rating, which is probably the 6th or 7th superior rating they've gotten in marching band. So again, there are a lot of good things going on. The funding just does not represent what's going on in these schools. So that's important. When children are involved in extracurricular activities, they stay out of trouble. Our crime rate goes down when Northwestern Central winning. There's a lot of reasons that the district need to invest. And I don't only blame the district, I blame the mayor. It's pathetic that on the nightly news, you get hardly nothing going on about what's going on the high school level, because the people of Dade County don't care about athletics. And it's important. It gets a lot of people to school. DC went to school off a football scholarship, right? So
yes,
kind of stuff is important. DC probably would have been head cracking me. Who knows? Right? So again, there's a lot of value in extracurricular activities. A child playing an instrument, or they're cheering, or whatever the case may be. It brings a calmness in our community. And we can't continue to ignore this. We can't continue to stick our head in the ground as a district and say, hey, we ain't gonna do nothing about it. So I challenge the district, to come out to some of these games, not just because it's Northwestern and Central. Any game, come out, meet parents. We talked about these things. This is an opportunity for the district to understand what a parent in Dade County school system is feeling. Go up in the stands and talk to the people. We've had this kind of conversation today. I've gotten a commitment from somebody I trust that this will happen, and if not, I'll put him on blast.
Let me ask you. You spoke about two things that I wanted to ask you guys about. You talked about stadiums, and you talked about instruments and bands. We old enough to know we used to go to the game and you had Central Big Band, Northwestern Big Band, Carroll City, Edison Big Band, Jackson Big Band, and we had stadiums to play in. You had an Orange Bowl to play in. You had North Miami to play in. You had Trash Powell to play in. You would play games at FIU. Now you really own two parts of it, two-part question. Now the bands are eliminated. Then the stadiums are eliminated. You know, for me as a coach, we had to play majority of our games. If you're not Northwestern or Central, everybody else has to play at Iowa State or Park, Curtis Park. You have to play at Charles Hadley Park. There's no stadiums when you take out North Miami. But when you look at our neighboring county, they have these stadiums in the backyard of their fields.
Of their schools.
And a lot of people don't understand that. How does Broward County, Miramars and everybody and the Strenahans and the Elys and all them people of the world and public schools, how do they be able to have a stadium at their school where they can play their home games and we don't? People don't understand that. And if you
simple, it's very simple.
And how to fix this stadium issue that we have.
It's very simple. It's better leadership. It's more people. The leadership is community conscious. Okay, so they've gotten away with doing this so long that now they've dug a hole, and when you're that deep in the hole, you need to stop digging. And that's the problem. Broward County had better leadership. Let's just call it what it is. They had better foresight. And Dade County has not shown the ability to be forward thinking. We got a lot of lip service. As I said tonight, all we did was change the lipstick on the pig until you put some money into what really needs to happen there in Dade County. We're going to keep getting what we get. I just spent 6 weeks in Duval County. What you just stated is factual. All the schools up there have their own stadium. On top of that, they play middle school football. So their children at the middle school level up is under discipline because now they have to be eligible and they think about it at an earlier age. So that killed us. Here's the bigger issue. The zone. We've been in the zone for a decade and a half. Now, if it takes a decade and a half to bring up a community to read on par, to spell on par, there's something wrong with the system. Our children can't be that dumb. Not for a decade and a half. For a decade and a half, we had ETO, we had the zone, and that the system has taken that to another level. I don't think no other community would have to be involved with something for a decade and a half. So they used that from a. They took,
how do we fix this stadium issue?
Well, let me finish.
Go ahead.
They took liberal arts out of the school system for the most part. So the reason you don't have bands to the level that it should be is because they're not really playing music in most of these schools. Our children, we just happen to have a great band director. You know, if he gets you to come out, he's going to train you on how to play an instrument. So as you're well aware, Northwestern probably has one of the largest marching bands in the Icare community. It's because of the band director. It ain't got nothing to do with the system. He goes beyond the call of duty to get those children ready, and he gets a lot of them scholarships. So that's important because now more schools are coming down to Miami to play, with the Orange Blossom Classic being renewed and the whole 9 yards. You know, band directors from Jackson State will say, hey, let me see some people at Central. Let me see some people at Edison. So now we're back on the map. We went to Jackson, Mississippi, and won first place in a band contest. Yet the school system doesn't support the band director because the junior high schools, as a general rule, don't play music. When we were in school, we played music, whether you was good at it, from first grade all the way through, for the most part, until you got the senior high school where you start to have a little flexibility with electives. But you were trained to have that skill set because that may have been your talent. And if you don't be given the opportunity, you'll never know what that child's skill set is. Everybody ain't going to be Einstein. We understand that. So give them another way to at least get exposed. A child gets a scholarship in cheering or whatever the case may be. Let's do that. So actually, the zone killed us because now the curriculums would change. You had to get double dose of math and double dose of English. And that's what killed it from a curriculum perspective. So we asked that as a trial, they back off some of that at Northwestern because we want to see what the child can do. All this double dosing after a decade and a half, to me, is a reflection of the education system, not the child.
DC, Larry spoke about generating the money and all this. You just ran for office, and if you would have won, and as well as the candidate who you support and everybody else that's on the dais, there was the mayor of the county proposed that they take some school sites that are low in numbers and create workforce housing at these school sites. Do you guys support that? Them taking school sites and turning them into and selling them off to the developers to create workforce housing?
Luke, for years we've been fighting and warding off them closing our schools. You hear us talking about sports and cheerleaders and band, right? And for the average person that hears that, they think we don't care about education. But you know what has to happen to be in the band, to be on the football team, to be a cheerleader? You have to maintain at least a 2.0 average. So education is a priority of Icare. It's been a priority. And we've been fighting the system for years. There's a lack of schools of choice in our inner city schools. These are the schools, magnets that prepare our students to graduate and step right into a well-paying job. There's very few of those in Black schools, in inner city schools. What they give us are academies that the principal have to pay for. A magnet, the district pays for them. And yet out of 50, 60 schools of choice that's backed by such entities as the Beacon Council, there's only 2 or 3 total in inner city schools. So we've been fighting for a fair curriculum from day one, but they won't give us that. And to answer your question, why we don't have stadiums? Because they don't make it a priority. They don't make it. All you have to do is make it a priority. You have a $6 billion budget for maybe a $7 or $8 billion budget right now, and not one stadium. That's why one of the priorities I had was to put lights and bleachers around some of our inner city schools if I was successful in my election. But that's not the case. So we're fighting for it. And what does that bring? Stadiums bring revenue.
Yes.
Stadiums bring your own revenue. You don't have to beg from no one. Parking, $2-3 a car. You make a couple of $1,000s on parking alone, much less the tickets that you gather once those patrons come in. And so we believe that those stadiums will make each school self-sufficient, like they are in Broward County. We think that the streaming of those games will make our schools self-sufficient. And so we've been fighting this battle now for about 15 years now. But like Larry said, I believe good things are on the horizon with Mr. Hosendorf signing that contract and the possibility of Mr. Steve Gallen becoming chair. And you know that me and Larry and others, Alvin and Milton and Harriet and Evangeline and all of us will continue to put the pressure on them to finally get what we so richly deserve. And then if others capitalize off that and become enriched in the process, so be it. But we're going to continue to fight. And I believe within the next year or so, you will see a win-win with everybody involved.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very important that everybody gets involved because no shade on the people downtown, but again, these people are educators. They're educators. They are built to these folks that hold these seats in these offices, whether they're in the GMAC or downtown. They are not marketing experts. They are educators, and the only way they get those jobs, like the head of the GMAC or the head boss or whatever it is, or the superintendent of those areas, to be over those people. Those people are educators. They're not necessarily marketing people. So
I agree. And listen,
them,
they don't realize that high school sports is a multi-billion-dollar industry right now.
right, and that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing, And so when we see Hosendorf, and we know it took years for him to be able to get into this whole this contract entry. And I had a conversation with him. I'm like, look, this is just the tip of the iceberg
Right.
because now you're going the GMAC and the district is going to have to really, really tighten their screws and because the brand of Miami-Dade County Schools, you can't live off of two schools. You should be able to live off of all the schools.
Right.
And
exactly.
It goes into scheduling.
Right.
Like I'll just, you got to be able. Now you're going to have to take over scheduling because you're going to have to create those marquee games to be able to generate those type of revenues. So coaches can't be running from playing people, and tricking up the system. It's go, and again, like I said to Larry, and I've said several times, those private schools who live up under their own rules and don't necessarily live on the same governed by the same rules that we govern, we should make them pay us. The Columbus, the Baylians of the world, they should pay. If they don't want to follow the same rules and regulations that our schools follow, they should be paying no different than IMG paying to play us because they won't have nobody to play at the end of the day. So if they want to, so I look at and those games can be considered, marquee game. You don't want to follow the same rules, with transferring then or whatever it may be. Then okay, we're gonna treat you like IMG. You're gonna have to pay us to play. Other than that, go find somebody else to play. So I see it being it's a work in progress, and just like you say, everybody is gonna have to get involved in that because it could be an absolute great thing, and we're gonna have to take some of the coaches out of it. I love my coaches, friends, but some of them gonna have to get out of it too because when you schedule a game like a Carroll City versus South Ridge, those games have to be played. Things like that, and so coaches can't get into a situation where I don't want to play this game because I got to protect the schedule, but. And that's a whole nother story. But speaking of
Luke, let me say something.
Go ahead.
Here's another caveat that has to be considered. We have no partners with Dade County schools.
Right.
Now, let me just give you an example, and I know this may be touchy for a lot of people, but as example, here you got FIU, that stadium is dormant. However, they have relationships and curriculums in urban core schools so they can recruit minority students. Yet and still, you want to charge somewhere in the neighborhood of $65,000 to rent your stadium for a high school football game. So you want us to charge our patrons $30 to $50 to make some money. Now, the stadium's sitting there dormant. Ain't nothing gonna happen Friday, right? But where's the partnership as a community? The Dolphins won't let us play. You know what I'm saying? The Marlins are Ricky over the coals and head crack you. So we have no partnerships here. Everybody's doing their own thing, and the children are suffering and we're not being exposed because we can't get any of them to say, look, okay, for one Friday night, if UM got to play, we just got to bite the bullet. Let this high school team play in Hard Rock Stadium.
So let me ask you,
this is your alumnus. He went to Beach High, and this guy won't do nothing for Dade County. He gave y'all a scoreboard. But what are you doing?
No, he didn't give us no. Yeah, at my school they gave us.
You have a Dade County, at least one Dade County product on the Miami Dolphins team, and you can't do nothing to allow the community to enjoy a competitive playoff game. I mean, come on.
But
let me get it. So
I totally agree, because the partnership between the Dallas Cowboys and Texas football is like this. You know, they even have a facility. If you go in Frisco, you'll see, you know, when they built their practice fields, they built a stadium. Similar to what the Dolphins did in Miami Gardens. They built a stadium, but it's not a full stadium adjacent to Hard Rock Stadium. And what the Cowboys did was, my team, I love them to death, build another stadium for high school teams to be able to use that stadium, you know, for playoffs and those type of games, and then use their big stadium. So again, you're right. You're right when it comes to FIU. On too many levels, FIU and the Dolphins and University of Miami, because again, these schools are asking for our players, and our players are going to these schools, and we have dual enrollment with FIU. There's no give back. There's no give back from those institutions. But my question is, who would be the person to go negotiate that deal from the Dade County school system standpoint? Go to the Dolphins and say, look, Miami Dolphins, this is what we need. Go to the FIU and say, hey, FIU, we're gonna end this partnership with you guys here if you don't do X, Y, Z. Who's responsible for that?
Let me give you an example of prioritizing football in Miami versus, say, the same Dallas, Texas that you love so very much. Allen High just built a $60 million stadium. They have 720 kids in their band. It takes 27 buses to transport their band to each and every game. Now, we know that there's a lot of big Texas oil money floating around in Dallas, but the priority, Friday Night Lights, is still a big priority in Texas. Well, Friday night is like a holiday every Friday night. These people don't give a damn about high school football here. Maybe because their kids are not excelling in high school football. We played a team, St. Brendan's, the other night that was so ridiculous, and I'm gonna be nice about it, but they shouldn't have been in the playoffs. They were so small and so untalented. Well, they couldn't match a Central or Northwestern. We were leading them 46-0 in the first quarter. So simply because their kids are not excelling, and just like this new state playoff system, this 2M, 3M, 4M that got us all fighting against each other, only for one of our teams to come out of there when it used to be 3 or 4 teams vying for the state. It's all a plan, and it all wreaks havoc simply because we're the kings of the blocks, the Northwestern and the Centrals and so forth. Their priority in us has waned. But I bet you if their kids were the king of the block, you something much different. So, like Larry said, you are in the third richest, third most successful, third most populated school system in the entire country, from 4 to 3. High school sports is now a multi-billion-dollar industry with meals coming to high school students. How in the hell are we so poor, Luke? Why are we still at the bottom at the totem pole with all of this talent? Northwestern got more pros in the pros, more players in the pros than most schools in the country. Central is not that far behind. Dalvin Cook just broke off an 80-yard run the other day. Look, it was everybody's proud. Yet we still are amongst the poorest schools in the land, and that has to change.
Yeah, that definitely has to change. I mean, speaking of Larry, Florida High School Association, I know Dr. Gallen, changed the language where Miami-Dade County School can actually get out of the Florida High School Association. And when you look at, just like Ms. DC just spoke about, this new realignment designed to kill us off, to kill each other off, and just like you say, the St. Brandon was the one who replaced us in the playoff, and everybody was like, "How the hell did they get in there?" And Edison didn't get in because they were able to play a schedule where they played another set of teams that was worse than them, and so that eliminated the Edison out of there. And so they fixed this system up, and it's Florida High School Association, in conjunction with Ralph Arza, who voted on this, who was supposed to be our representative. Do you get out of the Florida High School Association, or do you revisit the deal with them? How do we move forward? Or do we move forward with the FSHA? Because I'm still mind baffled the fact that Miami Northwestern, and no shade on nobody, that how can you win the district and you be a lower seed to the district runner up? That's just bananas. So how do we stay in this FSHA, or do we get those 9 counties, the Duval, the Orange County, the Pinellas County, and all those counties, and say, just come to the table, let's do something on our own? Do you do that, or do you stay within the same system?
Well, as a person who's served on Dade County Athletic Advisory Committee for some 12 to 15 years, one of the reasons I left the committee is because there was no growth there. They didn't want to grow. I'm a big advocate. Prior to integration, Black schools had their own conferences, the Big 9. And so we're capable of putting together a template that can benefit all those who want to come and free ourselves from the Florida High School Athletic Association. So Friday night when we play Central, before any bills are paid, the Florida High School Athletic Association takes 25% off the top, gross revenue. They don't even want net. They want gross revenue. So people in the stands don't understand. We getting bamboozled by the state of Florida. They're taking 25% of gross, not net. They don't care if you lose money. Statistically, I think the last time we won a state championship, we may have lost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 just going up there and doing it the right way. So people think, well, at the state championship game, you get no money. None whatsoever. No ticket sales, no parking sales, no revenue, no nothing. So them cats are gangsters. All they do is pimp us. And this time of year, they're at their top of the gangster game because that's all they do. 25% of gross. I mean, the government don't take 25% of your gross as a general rule. I mean, so why are we paying these cats this money? At least the commissioners of the SEC or the ACC is growing the business. They're not growing our business. They're just taking their share of what they want. So, yes, I believe it may take a process, but, you know, it's better to feed yourself than have somebody else feed you.
DC, you agree? Do you think we should get out of FSHA, form our own football conference, since they pushed us off over here into this
Well,
into the black league, what it used to be back in the '60s? What it was, the Divine Nine or something like that?
The big nine.
The big nine.
that's
I know
divine.
I get y'all the
Big
big
nine.
nine.
Be careful now. You talking about the boule. Be careful.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I wanted to get the laugh out of Larry, you know, because he's part of the boule, but that's a whole nother conversation.
No, Luke, listen, I don't think we need to continue to be raped. You know, what's the alternative? In other words, if only one of us, they're so crafty, man. Not only do they put all of us into one big balling pot for just one of us could come out of it, but then they'll set up as your opponent down the road an American Heritage and claim that they are Metro 2. They're more bougie than anybody else. Their stadium and their school are amongst one of the richest neighborhoods in the entire state and Plantation. So how could they be classified as Metro
and not suburb?
And not suburbs.
Right.
So they got all kind of traps in that game, man. So they know exactly what they're doing. Down up the street, they got what's the team? There's another team with similar attributes. Good team.
St. Thomas in Columbus.
Well, not St. Thomas. There's another team that's up the road, but it's the same thing. They're talking about Metro. Those are the most bougie schools that you can get. So I'm not all for just one of us coming out. A couple of years ago, it worked fine. Northwestern won the state. Central won the state. We were all up in the state playoffs together. And maybe one or two more teams were up there. St. Thomas and another team. We had about 4 state championships at one state playoffs over one weekend. Yeah. Now it's you be fortunate to have 2 up there, but now it's just 1. You understand me?
Now it's just 1. They moved the goalposts.
Yeah, and so we can't continue to act like we enjoy being raped. You understand me? We got to keep fighting for what is right. And until that happens, keep the fight going, man. You know, I want my brothers, my cousins from Northwestern to go up there with us. I think they deserve it. And remember now, it used to be seeded by enrollment, right? It's based on enrollment. Yet they got Edison, Booker T, Northwestern, Central, different enrollments by 1,000, by hundreds. You understand me? Northwestern might have 1,800 students. Central might have 1,500 students. Booker T might have 800 students. Edison might have 600 students. Yet we're all in the same boat. Mm-hmm. It's full of traps, and I think we need to revisit it. And if they don't hear our plea, if they don't hear our troops, then I'm all for joining our own, creating our own system and playing amongst each other. Create maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 divisions amongst us, and we have our own state championship. They need us more than we need them. And that's the bottom line.
And I think we'll generate more revenue than they will generate, and we'll control the narrative, we'll control the money, and the money will go back to the kids. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. On another subject, before I let you guys go, this you guys have been here all your life like me. We born and raised Miami-Dade County, and you know we're all we all visited Virginia Key Beach when we knew that Virginia Key Beach was the only beach for us to be able to go to. When we were told on Miami Beach, you can't go there, can't get in the water. Hollow the same thing. You had to be off the beach at 6 p.m. And and throughout the years, how Miami Beach has been disenfranchising African Americans from coming over there, whether they're students on spring break or Memorial Day weekend. We have this Virginia Key Beach issue that's going on right now, where um, the commissioner said there has been $18 million and another $5 million set aside to build a museum at Virginia Key Beach. And so, you have one side saying, "Oh, they didn't give us the money," and then the other side saying, "We had this money sitting there for 18 years, and now," and then the other side saying, "Oh, you're letting the Hispanics and the Cubans take over the board." And where do you guys stand on that issue? Do you feel like it needs to be something? If you had $18 million, build something, or don't build nothing, or just take over the board, or leave it as it is, as it has been for years. What's your take on that?
Well, let me go first, Larry. Could you imagine them putting the homeless on or near the site of the Jewish Holocaust? They will be mad as hell, and rightfully so, right? There's a museum that is planned on that site dealing with our struggle here in this county. We need the same respect as those Jews would deserve to have if someone thought of putting the homeless near the Jewish Holocaust. We need the same respect. Nobody respects us in this town. The framers of this city, they talking about Cubans build up this town. That's BS. 1/3 of the framers of the city of Miami were Black men from the Bahamas. Look it up. This is a part of our town more so than any other ethnicity. Put some respect on our names for once. And for any Black who are taking part and participating in this, shame on you. This is your history. This is our collective history. And it shouldn't be given away for a few pieces of silver. Fight for it like the rest of us are fighting for it. As a matter of fact, tomorrow there's a situation, a gathering at a church talking about the same thing we're talking about tonight. So we need to keep up the fight.
Larry, let me ask you. So, I think they kind of moved away from putting the homeless out there, and now the conversation is the county has $20 million. I think it was 15, and then it was 5, according to the commissioner. And the $15 million to build a museum has been sitting there for 18 years, and they're saying we have this money here. We want you guys to build a museum, and the folks who were controlling the beach, the trust, did not activate this money. And I know the trust has their view of it, which I asked them to be on the Tuesday talk next week. Hopefully they'll take the invitation, but if you got $18 million, I lay it out. If you got $18 million, $15 million, and another $5 million to build a museum, they've gotten away from the homeless thing. What do you do? Do you take that money, build a museum, build a beach up, or do you not take the money?
Say that last part again. I'm sorry, Luke.
Or do you not take the money? Do you just go on as business as usual? You have nothing happens. You don't build a museum, and then that money eventually, that 15 million, 5 million, eventually goes somewhere else to some. You know how money get missing in the county and the city. So do you build? I guess the question is, do you take the 15 and the 5 million and build a museum and build something that we're proud of out there, or what do you do?
Yes, of course. That was what the money was designed for. So they want to use that money as a slush fund. You kill the project by moving the homeless out there. So now that money becomes accessible. So the trustees of the trust, I like to dabble a little bit. They committing trust fraud. As a trustee, you have to do the right thing by the trust. That money was designed for that purpose. By law in a trust, that's the only thing it can be spent for. And see, that's how they trick us. They put stuff in trust, and we don't understand trust law, and they manipulate it. But absolutely, that money should be used for what the intent of the trust was designed to do, which is to build that museum. I'm totally for building that museum because, like you say, we were all shorties going out to Virginia Key Beach. That was the only beach we was allowed to put our bodies in, even though the salt water is the salt water, but it's just something about certain parts of salt water you weren't allowed to be in. So absolutely, that money should be designated with the way the trust says to spend it to build a museum. But what that shows you, Luke, is, as DC said, we don't have no power. We don't have no juice. And it's going to get a lot worse than better in this town unless we start stepping up. We got to cut off the TV, start going to these board meetings, either at the county, the city, and the school board, and voice our concerns rather than be reactionary people. Because that's what they want us to do. We always reacting. It's too late. You need to be proactive on the planning part of it and hold these politicians accountable. And we don't want to do that. We vote for people because we like them. But where is, as the old Wendy's commercial, where is the beef? And very few of our politicians are bringing the beef home. And that's unfortunate. And we continue to recycle the same presidency year in and year out. And then we want miracles. But we got to start holding these people accountable. Stop letting them wave at us at the Martin Luther King parade like that really has some value. And again, cut the TV off and do some reading. So yes, the museum should be built, because if it doesn't, 20 years from now, you won't even know that a melanated man was in this county. They'll write away all our history, like
Yes.
DC said.
Yes,
Most
because I mean,
people that originated here were from the Bahamas and Georgia.
In Georgia.
That's what was the makeup of Miami-Dade County. They never intended for us to live here. This was supposed to be a seasonal job. When the snowbirds came down from New York, we were supposed to be able to come down here and work for them in a subservient role. And then when the season was over, you go back. They didn't realize eventually we was going to get our foot in the door, and one led to another. And now we own homes here and a whole lot of other stuff, but they trying to price us out of the homes by raising taxes. They know we can't afford to pay taxes. Taxes in Dade County now is crazy. And the services that you get for it doesn't justify the cost of taxes in this county. So it's all a plot to get rid of us. And if anybody's sitting here thinking that it's not, it's just being naive.
Yeah, and I fully believe that too, because a lot of times, like these things happen in our community, like Liberty Square housing projects. These ideals, start off, and then you kind of see what is actually getting ready to happen, and it is a plot for them to take back and push us out. And I too agree that there has to be a museum built out there, and it's very important that a museum is something. I look at it like this: when we did all this fighting, and the folks in Miami Beach don't want us over there, we have our own beach. We need to build a museum and build something out there where we don't have to go there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have to go there where we have ownership in something.
Right.
Because it seems like it's reverse. It's almost like what is the word I fight with? Not fight with, but I talk to these guys on Twitter all the time. When they want their land back, when the slaves came.
Gentrification.
What was it?
Gentrification.
Yeah, it's gentrification, but yeah, at the same time, between gentrification and getting our land back, because as you guys know, you are historians, you know our land was taken away from us, and African Americans was brought over here, where they dropped off on the slave ships, and they took the land away from us.
Right.
And so there's a push toward getting those lands back, and it's funny that we're talking about this. Just maybe 6 months ago, the state of California, the governor Newsom, gave back a black beach that was taken away from a black family.
Right.
Gave that beach back and cut a deal with that family so that Californians can use the beach. You know, and so when I look at what we have here that is so special and the times that we live in, because they don't want us on the beach, we can build something beautiful there. Like I told the commissioner, I said, look, you know, our problem is we have a tendency of depending on people who don't have our best interests to do things that they consider in our best interest, but we then the thing get changed, the goalposts get moved around. Like when I heard that they were getting ready to build a school in Liberty Square, I was like, that's the craziest shit. You're surrounded by 3 schools, so now what you're gonna do? Build a school in Liberty Square? Housing projects to then take away from those schools right there? Why would we do something like that? You know, that just makes no sense to me. You know what I'm saying? And then now you're gonna, again, and the same thing with the stadium, at Trash Pile Stadium, where I proposed to them building a school, building up the stadium, building around the stadium, and then they turned my thing down and they gave it to Kipner to build the same school at the same site that I gave them the blueprints to do. So these type of things happen to us on a consistent basis. So, we have the resources, but we have a tendency of not being together as a community. And then we go to these folks who, down there in Coconut Grove or wherever they may be at, that don't have the best interests of us. And we end up building something, but they're building something on our face, but it's not really
It's not for you.
It's not for us. Right. You know what I'm saying? Now we get out and now we can't even afford to even stay in there, let alone as afford to even go there. So we have to be real weary about that. And like I've been trying to work on this for a minute, of finding the bank, because we have no access to the bank. And that's the problem. We don't have to, and then we have to depend on them, and then we don't have a seat at the table. We're sitting on the side of the table. So, we could pull that off. That is something that's my little project of going to find a bank. So I can come back to Larry with DC Clark and everybody. We got the bank. We know we have ownership. We can do some state-of-the-art shit that's better than anything that y'all got out here. And because we got the bank. Right. And that's the thing. And we don't need Telemundo and everybody, and then everybody be fighting and they'll shoot at me. And then I'll take Larry. So and have him put him up in the front of us. But let's go to the last subject. Who's gonna win the game?
May I say something, Luke?
Yes, sir.
I know that someone wanted to know the name of the book again. It's From Hebrews to Negroes. That's the name of the book. You can go on Amazon and purchase the book. Also, a correction is that the voting for the chair of the Miami-Dade County Public Schools is next Tuesday. If you're free and you love your community, it's time to just come sit in the room. When you sit in the room, it changes the atmosphere. When all that melanated energy is sitting in the room, it changes the atmosphere. So let's do that. Make no bones about it. I support Dr. Gallen. Why? Because you can talk to him. As they use as excuse all the time when they're interviewing head coaches for the NFL, it's about relationships. It's about I can eat bread. Well, I can go to Arlene's and have a breakfast with Dr. Gallen.
Yes, so, you can.
That's important because if that power structure shifts too much, you think we're in for a fight. It's gonna get worse. You think we're fighting to get athletics and things done for our children. These are our children we're talking about. And we have to step up. We can't keep making excuses wanting other people to do for us. Come to the school board meeting. If you got to use a vacation day, it's well worth the investment. So stop making excuses. Come down next Tuesday, get that melanated energy in the school board meeting so that they know we want what we're entitled to have, which is Dr. Gallen, most qualified person on the board. And let's make this do what it does.
Hey, DC, James Jackson has a comment. He said, "We never own a pork and bean. We can't take back anything we never owned. That's like claiming something that you're paying rent for."
Well, he has a point. Do you know that land that the pork and beans sit on in that particular area, 62nd Street, is among the highest sitting land in the entire state of Florida. And now you have vultures coming in preying, preying, on these elders to sell their homes simply because they know that within the next 5-10 years, that is going to be the most luxurious, priceful land in the entire state. So I will advise the elders and advise the adults who are listening, do not sell your land in Liberty City, even if they're offering you a pretty penny, because in 10 years, that's going to be among the most expensive land in the entire state of Florida. One more thing, for those of you who Larry is extolling you to read, and I want everybody to read, but I know that's very difficult for a whole lot of you. You just don't have the patience, the time. You're going to make excuses not to read. They also have from Hebrews to Negro on video as well. So I would advise you to buy them both, have family night, take a look at those videos, and read the book if you can. We need to start educating ourselves because it's painfully obvious that these folks, we are not anybody else's priority but ourselves. We must do it for ourselves, as these two brothers been saying all night long. We got to stop waiting for the boogeyman to come save us. We got to save ourselves.
Hey, I agree. So now the good part of this telecast before we end. Yes, sir, buddy. I want to know. In the whole, listen, we got the big time alumni president of Central. We got Larry Williams. Hey, and I'm glad Alvin and
Milton. Yeah, and all of those guys
wasn't on this telecast tonight. They just left. YouTube. So let the trash talking begin. Larry, I'm gonna start with you. being that the Bull got beat already by DC, so I'm gonna start with you. Who's gonna win? How you gonna beat DC this Friday night under the lights? And how did the Bulls prevail? Do you think the Bulls?
Well, Luke, we just a bunch of humble people on 71st Street. It's quite obvious.
Humble,
It's quite obvious that Central is the favorite, and all the pressure is on Central. And I just know some kind of way the Bull will find a way to get it done.
Oh, you're being so nice.
Yes.
DC, how bad is it gonna be, DC? Y'all been beating everybody by a margin of what? How many points? Like 45 points? I
Yeah,
mean,
but every time.
they got DC, they got you, they have a ranking system in Florida. It's the Dolphins, then it's the Central, and then it's everybody else. And then when they do a college ranking, they got what my boy Pliers put on there Central, Florida A&M, Florida State. I mean, Jesus, DC.
Well, we won't be fooled, Luke. We know that when these two teams get together, you can throw the records out the window. We know that. We have the utmost respect for Northwestern Bulls. I used to coach over there from 90 to 93 under Goldsmith. So we have the utmost respect for them, but I like our chances. We're healthy. We have no excuses. We've been playing good ball all year. We think it'll be closer this time because they got Tiger back, the quarterback back, instead of using the freshman wide receiver. So that's worth a couple of touchdowns. So, but we like our chances. We're not going to shy away. We're going to show up on Friday night and see what happens. But I like our chances. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm being humble myself, but we like our chances.
We like our chances. Just glad to be on the field with Central at this point, Luke. You know, I mean, what can you say, man? You know, we just glad to be able to show up with them, man, and hopefully we make a good showing Friday night. I'm gonna keep it modest, but you know we don't lay down, man. We ain't gonna lay down.
Hey, but Luke, Teddy Bridgewater is playing for the Dolphins now. Teddy Bridgewater is the backup quarterback for the Dolphins. He's going to turn into the offensive coordinator for Miami Northwestern. They put the damn game plan right now. They got pro, all kind of stuff over there, man. They know they got us, but we don't show up anyway.
Oh, no. They put, hey, all I know when we played the Bull, I saw Teddy on this. I got a phone call saying, Teddy gonna be on the sideline.
Right.
Hey, they're bringing out all the Bulls for
man. Talbot, Bain, Jeffrey, Townsley Jr., all of them gonna be out
there. they might bring back Kilroy.
Yeah, they will. Yes, they will. I don't put it past them now.
Oh God, Larry. I mean, man, this gonna be a hell of a game, boy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I think if this was on the pay-per-view, this would break so many records.
That's what I'm talking about.
It would be. I mean, this thing would be. This is pay-per-view, made for TV.
Especially if this is it. You lose, helmets to the left, shoulder pads to the right. So we ain't trying to go home, not yet. So it's going to be a hell of a game. I look forward to it.
Oh, baby. Hey, man, I'm going to thank you guys.
We'll be fine. Bull Nation will be there. We'll be there. We coming out the closet this week, so we'll be fine. I mean, again, Central got all the juice. We just glad to be on the field with them.
Larry,
what you got to do, Luke, you got to check up close and personal, because the quarterback might be Teddy and the wide receiver might be Amari Cooper. You understand me? I don't blame. They'll pull that stunt on y'all ass.
I'm just surprised Larry is being so humble.
Yeah, he knows.
Hey, you ain't
glad to be on the field, man. We just glad to be on the field.
They got something up their sleeve, Luke. You know that.
Hey, man, I want to thank you guys for being on here. And just like, and one thing we're not talking about, the halftime show is going to be, that's going to be epic also.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one because you got two of the top bands in the state that's going to be performing at the half. So that's going to be something else, man. I want to thank you guys for coming on. Like I say, man, hey, we got to keep the fight, keep the pressure on, keep working with, the good part about it, we got some good elected officials that we can talk to, and some new people in charge, and we just gonna keep the daggone fight going on. And like I say all the time, anytime you guys want to come on, just bring it on. We always gonna have these conversations because we all care so much about this community, and we love it the most. Thank you guys.
We'll let you know when
brother.
that meeting is scheduled in December, because we understand the importance of that meeting. That's the first time we get a chance to meet the total new leadership in the Department of Athletics, because there's been several changes at the top. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll keep you posted when that meeting will take place. But we have tentatively a December date, just not finalized yet.
Thank you. All right, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, Luke.
All right,
Thanks,
Luke.
brother.
Thank you, man.
Okay, doke. Love y'all.
All right.